So on the listing side, so when you're working with clients that are preparing homes for list and they have their punch list of things to do, right? Replacing the light fixtures, fixing the crack in the wall, right? Painting the baseboards, like whatever it is, right? Declutter, depersonalize, carpet and paint, kind of the four things most people do. So we're the carpet piece. So when you're working on listings, one thing we do special for realtors that's really different from other flooring companies in Maryland is that we stock a ton of materials. And we'll show you some of those today. But these are specifically for our agents and some of our property management clients. So these are waterproof floors, carpets primarily that are in stock, ready to go. We can install like that. So a couple weeks ago, I had one of my agent friends actually text me in the morning. She had a listing. She was all panicked. The photographer's coming tomorrow. And I had guys out replacing carpet that afternoon, right? So all those projects are things we can do really fast, very inexpensively, and you still get a super high level quality of service from us, right? So that's on the listing side. On the buyer side, when you're working with clients that are buying their homes, and of course, it's always frustrating when you see people that are telling you they don't want to buy the house because they don't like that color paint. Like, I could never live in a house with a yellow kitchen. Well, you can always paint the kitchen, right? There's always improvements people want to make. So in addition to the materials we stock for our real estate clients that are primarily sort of builder-grade materials, I also stock now, I believe, 60 different SKUs of carpet and 25 different types of flooring that are not builder-grade, right? That's more forever home. And so we can share with you some of those. And the third way we work with agents is like Vince here. So we have many agents who just rely on us for their own personal projects, for friends, family, that sort of thing. So after we finish up today, if I get everybody's contact information, I'll just text you guys a photo. I'll text a Vince, he can send it to you guys. I've got some photos of a project we did at Vince's house. So we did a really beautiful custom stair runner and a hallway runner and this hand-loomed wool carpet. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But material I buy in big volume. Vince is a friend, colleague, we got friends and family pricing. So that's kind of three ways we work with agents. So listings, right? We can do things quick, fast, and cheap. Forever homes, we can help people beautify their homes with carpeting, flooring, and window treatments. And then, on the personal side, whether it's for you, your friends, your family, we're just a really, really good trusted partner for you guys. All right. So that's a little bit about us. Did want to share with you and talk to you a little bit about products, just to give and talk to you about, when you're in seeing homes and you're giving clients advice on upgrades, things to do, things not to do, like things to be on the lookout for, things to consider, things to think about. Believe it or not, I spend a lot of my time talking, usually not agents, but talking clients out of investing too much money and preparing their homes for list. Right? Because I can't tell you the number of times that we've installed sometimes expensive products, right? Or in very expensive homes. So we install products and I'll see, 123 Main Street on an order. And then 5 or 6 weeks later, I'll see it on our installation schedule at the same address. I'm like, our guys are literally ripping out the flooring that we installed to sell this house that nobody's ever lived on, right? So kind of the moral of the story is from, when you're giving advice to your clients, just make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze for them. And there's some things we can talk about as it pertains to that. So first I'll just start with carpeting. So here you got 8 different sort of base grade carpets that we keep in stock, right? That we're using really primarily for our real estate clients. So specifically the ones on this side. These are the definition of quick, fast, cheap. Okay, but they present really pretty. They're really pretty colors, right? If the intent is to make, the house present well in photos and to get rid of that ick factor, that gross stain that you don't know what it is, or that funky smell in that room, right? Oftentimes with carpet, that's what it is. It's a great option, right? And then the other side here are, just if this is a good, here's sort of a better and a best, but still, moderately priced. But I'll pass this around. If you kind of feel them, you'll kind of see why things are kind of good, better, and best.
How much per square foot?
Yeah. So for base grade carpet, you're looking. So this is like fully installed. So this would include take up and removal. This would include if we had to move reset furniture, we can. This would include the cushion. This would include other services that we do. But those products there will start around $3 a square foot. And then the more expensive ones probably closer to $4.50.
Okay.
Right? Where when it comes to like residential replacement carpet, the average price is probably closer to like $8. Right? $8 per square foot.
What do you mean by that? Residential.
I mean, like for your forever home.
Okay.
So builder grade versus,
Exactly.
nicer carpet.
Yep. We have carpets in our store that could be, installed for $25 a square foot. So carpet, the weird thing in carpet where it goes from becoming like you see in the flooring business, like when it comes to real estate, you see a lot of carpet at the low end of the market, right? Walking houses. You get to that kind of middle part of the market, and you see very little carpet and lots of solid surface flooring. When you get to high-end homes, right, talking like over $2 million homes, you start seeing a lot of carpet again, right? So, I mean, some of our biggest projects that we do from a carpeting perspective, they're, homes in Potomac and Annapolis and Green Spring Valley and places like that, where carpet kind of flips and becomes a luxury good again. But yeah.
What makes that 25 a square foot? Like, what was it? A different material sourcing?
It's fancy. It's just fancy. It feels good. You want to like do snow angels on it. It may be like Vince bought some very fancy carpet for his stair runner. It was a hand loomed wool carpet.
Okay, yeah. So that's
Like there's no
sounds like you
electricity.
can make a suit out of that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds like Vince.
Yeah.
He's a fancy lad.
Yeah.
He is. Vince is a very fancy lad.
My dog has pissed on it twice, and you can't tell, which is great.
But yeah, so when you're going into people's homes, the things to look out for. So the first piece of like advice I'd give you guys is when you see carpeting in homes, particularly in basements, right, or anything that's over a concrete slab, right? When you see carpeting in a home, oftentimes it's there for a reason, right? The reason is it's hiding something. Carpet can hide lots of stuff. It's like contractors always say, like carpenters, say, caulk and paint, make it what it ain't, right? Ever heard that before? Carpeting can hide lots of bills. So we've had many, many clients. This is like a very common occurrence where people say, oh, we just hate the carpeting in the basement. Let's just rip it up and put down waterproof flooring. Great, sounds easy, right? We remove the carpet, and then the condition of the concrete underneath is poor, right? It's not level, it's not flat and smooth. With floating floors on concrete, the floor has to be pretty much perfectly flat and smooth, which means from like me to you, right? In this span of distance, the floor can't be off more than 1/8 of an inch, right? Think about like a lot of the homes you've walked into, right? Even if you can't see under the carpet, you know the condition of the house. You're like, there's no way this is perfectly flat and smooth.
You
right?
hear it. You hear the floor.
You might, right? You might see it, you might feel it. So that's actually a good thing. One thing that we'll do when we're out doing estimating is I literally do this. I'll kind of walk around the room and I kind of feel with my feet to see what's going on and try to assess. But the only point is carpeting was installed there for a reason, right? It's hiding something. You just don't want to get your client into a pickle where now, whether it's us or whoever, some contractor comes in and removes all this carpet and they think they're doing a quick, fast job, and all of a sudden they just sign themselves up for $5,000 of additional work. And it can be thousands and thousands of dollars to repair some floors. So that's the first thing. Carpets, exist oftentimes for a reason. So it's usually our recommendation for listings where carpet exists, replace it with carpet, right? One of the techniques we'll see, like a lot of our, sort of higher end agents will do, and a lot of interior designers we work with, is they'll replace, cheap, ugly, gross carpet with something really beautiful. So maybe something with a pattern, which I don't have samples of here, or maybe like a wool Berber carpet, something like that. So there's ways to really upgrade the space and have it present really well and give it a high-end look without spending unnecessarily thousands of dollars, which again, the person that buys the house is just going to rip up. Right? So just make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. When you encounter these things, like in the wild, and we'll give you our contact information, but either me or John, just reach out to us. You can text us photos, FaceTime us, whatever from the field. Say, hey, I just saw this on a listing appointment I was on. What do you think? I did that for an agent this morning, where they walked in and they had like the California closet systems in a closet, and they wanted to take up the carpeting and put down some kind of solid surface flooring. It sounds like a great idea, but this would have walked them into thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work because that entire closet system it was sitting on the carpet. California closets, for some reason, set on top of the carpet. And so would have required disassembling that entire thing, right? Removing it all out, putting all the flooring in and reassembling all of it. It would have been just a nightmare. So the simple solution was we're going to upgrade the carpet and go really pretty and be a fraction of the cost. But yeah, so again, another example of why carpet was there for a reason. So when it comes to flooring, I'm just going to pass a couple things around. So everybody here knows what LVP is, right, or luxury vinyl plank flooring. And there's some samples over here on the edge. There's 6 or 7 of them here. But this is an example of a good quality material. You can see in the back it's Shaw flooring, so it's not some no-name company, but still a base grade LVP, right? So there are a lot of problems with this type of flooring, okay? And you can kind of see it's just on these samples. This just kind of happened riding around in my car. But the way these floors work is, first, the subfloor has to be pretty much flat and smooth, sits on top of the floor, gravity holds it down, and the different planks connect together with these locking mechanisms between the planks, right? Problem is, when the floor is not perfectly flat and smooth, what happens is you create pressure at these joints and these locking mechanisms. You can feel how thin they are when I pass this around, but they will just break, okay? So again, when you're making recommendations for clients, particularly when you're dealing with like forever home situations, base grade LVP, it doesn't matter the brand, doesn't matter where you buy it, just base grade LVP, which is thin. You look at it's thin like this, if it's 4 or 5 millimeters thick, it's base grade. Is not recommended for like high traffic areas, no heavy loads, and not for a main level of a house. This is for like a lightly used basement, or areas of your house that are kind of, lightly used, right? Never in a commercial setting, only residential, and in areas where, it's not going to have that happen to it. But I'll pass that around and just compare and contrast that to this. So one of the biggest trends in the industry is because of all the problems with this luxury vinyl plank flooring. It's a big problem in the industry where companies are stopping to make it now. They're getting rid of their warranties because, it was marketed and still is marketed. Like Home Depot calls theirs life-proof, right? Like that implies like it's bulletproof, right? Nothing's bulletproof. Nothing's life-proof. But because of a lot of the problems inherent with that stuff, the market, and we're kind of leading the way here in this market, going towards a product like this. So this is a waterproof laminate floor. So the biggest distinction with laminate flooring, a couple things. One, you can see how thick the product is. Two, these locking mechanisms are very strong. They're not going to break. Third thing is there's no plastic in this. Okay, vinyl plank flooring, vinyl is plastic. So it's a layer of plastic on top of a core that's made of crushed up limestone and more plastic, and it has a plastic backing on it. Those are plastic floors, right? This is a wood product, right? So it's essentially sawdust and a polymer with a melamine wear layer. I don't know if you know what melamine is, but it's an organic compound. And then a coating of aluminum oxide, right? Incredibly scratch resistant, very dent-proof, waterproof top down, and it will not
What's it
break.
cost per square foot?
So I'd say it's
Not installed, just material.
about $2 more per square foot than the cheap stuff.
So 350 to 450, something like that.
So so like these materials here are in the 3 to 350 per square foot range, something like that. Basically, with vinyl, with this kind of waterproof flooring, if you get below 350 a square foot, you're into like really builder grade, not even builder grade stuff, like below builder grade stuff.
I've only done builder grade.
Yeah, I just priced that one up today. It was $399.
That was your 9.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Do you need to put
That not
underlayment
installed.
under this?
So with that product,
Not installed.
it depends. It depends. So anything that's going over concrete requires a vapor barrier. So it's a separate underlayment. And it prevents water vapor from coming up through the concrete and creating hydrostatic pressure and
Even if you're above grade.
concrete.
Just on concrete.
On a slab.
On slab. Yep. But otherwise, a product like that, you see it has there's a fixed acoustical cushion on the back. It's really to make it less click-clack.
Yeah.
And there are, if you ever are working in like above, so condominiums oftentimes will have requirements for like a sound rating. So it's called the IIC rating. So if you ever run into an instance with that, we do a lot of work in condominiums, and there's just a special sort of like certain products you need to use to adhere to those standards. So like these wouldn't adhere to those standards.
If this gets like wet, does it swell up?
Yeah, it's different than the old.
Even the joint part?
Right.
So it has like with that product, that locking mechanism between the planks I'm pretty sure there's a lifetime warranty on it.
Yeah.
Is warranted waterproof.
Give it a sleep on that.
So is this kind of like a cheaper alternative to like an engineered hardwood?
Yeah.
Like in between the engineered hardware and the LVP type of.
Yeah, that would fall into there, yeah.
It's a good,
And when you say laminate, people think of old school laminate.
glue down, yeah.
Where-
Yeah.
I was thinking
Well,
like I ruined a laminate floor at my parents' house growing up. I spilled a cooler and like every
Yes.
joint.
Yep.
Right, and that's still true with again, if you're talking about like if you went to Floor and Decor and bought some laminate flooring, then yes, that would continue to happen. Like that's a really high grade waterproof laminate floor. But yeah, so again, that's not something we would necessarily recommend for listing projects.
I think
This
a
is
lot
really
of this
more
in
for-
like new construction right now.
Yes.
The Ryan Homes of the world, you're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, this was for a window treatment project of ours, but I was in a $2 million house in Pikesville a couple of months ago, doing their window treatments. And they just moved in, and so I had to give the tour and how pretty everything is. And I swore these were all hardwood floors throughout their house, and I pulled one of the floor vents. Another trick, if you're ever unsure about the flooring, if you pull a floor vent, you can see the cross section. But laminate flooring. And a $2 million
Yeah, it looks super
house.
nice.
What's a subfloor need to look like for that kind of stuff? You have a
A
little bit more leeway.
little bit more. It's just more resilient. This would also be able to handle. Another thing to like be mindful of is rolling chairs are destructive to flooring. Like that would a rolling chair, particularly, and this is a sensitive conversation we have to have with our clients sometimes. Big people. And this kind of flooring, it doesn't matter what kind of furniture you have, do not go together. Right? So if you have clients that are, just large humans, they will break this. But even normal sized humans on a rolling chair, 'cause the rolling chairs, those casters, they just concentrate all that weight in one spot. And then what happens is you're rolling back and forth, and then it's going to cause that locking mechanism. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to have that conversation with your customers. Not suggesting you whip out a scale.
I've destroyed that stuff in my little office area in the loft with
Yeah.
a rolling chair.
That'll do it.
It's right at the seam. It's
Yep.
falling apart.
Yeah.
I must have the best laminate for LVP in the world.
Yeah.
Shit's fucking awesome.
I've never
Now,
had problems with mine.
even like base grade LVP like this, and this is a nice base grade LVP. Because part of what you're paying for, it's the imaging, it's the lack of pattern repeats, all that kinds of stuff. But even base grade LVP, if it's installed properly, yeah, it should do fine. if it's installed on a flat and smooth subfloor, that doesn't give, if the floor is flat and smooth, it doesn't give any opportunity for like pressure points or for that to
Gotcha.
crack.
Yeah, we worked with the stuff that was in the kitchen in our house from 2012 or something like that. And they said whatever I got was supposed to be better than life proof. It's scratch resistance, 10 times or some shit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been pretty good for us.
Yeah.
We got dogs. And
No, it's great.
everything
So I
else.
mean, we sell, I mean, what, 40% of our projects we do are probably different types of, LVP or waterproof flooring. It's just like anything else. There's just like good, better, and best. So just be
If it's
mindful
over
of that.
5.5 millimeters, then the locking systems are better and not gonna fall
Yeah, it
apart.
didn't look like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever? Is it ever okay to put LVP down on a wood subfloor?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
100%. And a kind of another quick, fast, cheap solution is we can float this type of waterproof flooring on top of existing floors.
Mhm.
So nail down hardwood floors, sheet vinyl in kitchens, that kind of thing. You can just float right on top of it. But you just can't put a floating floor on top of another floating floor.
Ah, gotcha.
If something is nailed down or is like vinyl in the kitchen, you can do. You also can't ever float a floor on top of anything that's adhesed or glued to concrete. That's a big no-no. It'll eventually fail. But yeah, and then just one last thing about us, we do have a sand and finish business as well. So I've got 2 crews that do sanding and finishing every day for us. So a lot of our real estate clients, a lot of times it's just, entryway and foyer refreshes or doing a set of steps. They're not always like giant projects, but we can get into big projects too. For our realtor clients, oftentimes it's, when you think about your typical townhouse when you walk in, right, you've got the old school, like hardwood flooring, it's in the foyer, in the hallway, in the powder room, that kind of stuff.
How much is the refinishing per square foot?
450 a square foot.
You said 450?
Yeah.
Is that with stain?
Yes.
Do you guys do engineered floors?
We do, yeah. So we do all types of carpeting, from this sort of stuff to like fancy lads, fancy stair runner, flooring, solid hardwood flooring, engineered hardwood floors. Engineered hardwood floors is another thing where it's, the name has kind of a bad connotation like laminate does, and that people sometimes connote like engineered hardwood floors means cheap. The most expensive hardwood floors made are all engineered floors. Like if you walk into a house and see these beautiful wide plank, white oak floors, right? They're all engineered. So the most expensive flooring is always going to be engineered flooring. There's just less and less solid hardwood made today. There's not a big demand for it. Solid hardwood, you're generally restricted to these narrow planks, and people don't want that. People want the big, wide planks now. But yeah.
Can you refinish some engineered hardwood floors here?
They have to be like 5 millimeter thick on top,
Yeah.
and if it's too thin, you'll just go right through into the core of it. So,
Essentially, think of veneer on top of like that.
well, yeah, it's a wood veneer, solid. It's solid wood on top. So, I mean, it has to be a certain thickness to sand it.
So it depends. That's the kind of thing. It's like on a case by case
It's
basis.
usually you refinish them once. If it's not,
Yeah.
Yeah. But with like new flooring today, like the better quality
But it's all
engineered
cut,
hardwood flooring that will come with
it's all
like
custom
50-year
cut.
finish warranties on them.
Different. They have to, like,
So
figure
I
out
mean, I tell clients all the time, like, what you're paying for is this beautiful finish. The
It's
idea
super
that you're
plush,
gonna
like
like
when
sand
you're
this
standing on
down
it.
someday, like would break my heart. Like, please don't do that.
August.
Two
So-
winters from now.
Yeah.
What's that?
Once the 2
2
winters
winters
from
from
now, the neighborhood goes and it turns into a rental.
Yep.
It's almost, yes.
Do you guys do repairs? So if there was like one plank that needed to get
You can
fixed,
swipe left. That's
do you guys do that kind of stuff or no?
So it
Upstairs.
depends.
Feels so nice.
Oftentimes, what seemingly a small, simple repair just grows into a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger deal. So, like as an example, with like this kind of waterproof flooring to replace a single plank, oftentimes you have to disassemble the floor that's in
Right.
the middle of the room. In the process of disassembling the floor, what's going to happen? These locking mechanisms are going to break, right? So now you're not just replacing that one plank. Now you're replacing a bunch of extra planks. Does the client have extra material?
Yeah, you look at
Probably not, right?
Right.
So oftentimes you're just opening up a can of worms. With hardwood flooring, again, it depends, but if it's nailed down, solid hardwood flooring, those planks can be individually cut out and replaced.
Yeah, I see one of those at Target.
It's sick. I was showing him the
Oh yeah,
stairs. Even Chester takes his time going up the stairs now. I'm not even kidding. So it's, he can actually like get into it a little bit. So he's like, before he would have to like get a running start to go up because he would like slip off the side.
Little things.
So it was really for him. Yeah, for that.
but I'd say with us, if you have questions, if you're unsure about things, we'll leave you our contact. Reach out to me or John. Text is great. There's projects you want for us to look at. That'd probably be more John than me, but we'd be Johnny on the spot and kicking out and see projects. I mean, that's kind of what we do, all day. And typically when we come out, we can just price things up for clients right on the spot.
If we had a square footage for you and just knew exactly what type of floor we wanted, would you be able to give me a quote over the phone?
Yeah, and get that ballpark.
Understanding, it's like a good faith.
What are things that are GFE? Gotcha. What are things that are like outside of square footage and product type that would raise the cost?
If there's any, like, depending on the take up of what it is, if ceramic is like $5 a square foot to remove ceramic and dispose of it. So depending on take up, and then if you pull it up and there's any subfloor issues, then the cost would go
So
up.
you remediate the subfloor, put like a self-leveling
Right.
type of concrete. Got it.
Or add plywood, or
Okay.
different things like that. So.
And with carpet too, it's a little bit different when if you're guesstimating carpeting. So with flooring, right? The amount of materials you need is pretty close to the square foot. So you have 1,000 square foot space. You need just over 1,000 square feet of flooring, like 5 or 10% more, right? Carpeting is different. Carpeting comes on 12-foot rolls, right? So it's just like fabric, right? So if you're making a shirt, right, this came on some big bolt of fabric, and in the factory, they cut to make this, and then there were scraps left over, right? Same thing. So with carpeting, the waste factor is more like 20% to 30%. So you say I have 1,000 square foot to replace, you're really asking for 1,300 square foot. That makes sense. So, but when you're ballparking some of the clients, just always round up.
If you have a 10 by 10 room, that's 100 square feet, you're going to need 120 square feet of carpet.
Yes.
So, just to give you an idea.
Mm-hmm. But you get to keep the extra carpet.
There you go.
Or not. But that's a good question.
What's the basic rundown of what you guys do in terms of like window coverings and that kind of stuff?
Good question. So there's catalogs on the table here you can check
That's
out.
where it gets expensive.
Yes, so a little bit different so window treatments, talking about blind, shades, and shutters. Okay. So specifically, we're a Hunter Douglas dealer. That's the brand that we sell. Hunter Douglas is just a really fine line. Even, I tell people this all the time too, even cheap custom window treatments are so expensive. There's no such thing as cheap custom. The words cheap and custom don't go together. Right? So even like, from 3-day blinds or budget blinds, they're still very expensive.
Yeah, I think my in-laws bought a house last year and there were 1 million windows that it was new construction, so they had to buy it all themselves. I think they spent 70 or 80 G's.
Yeah.
It was higher end, like for the most part, but it was very
For
expensive.
windows?
Yeah, for windows.
That's
My mom's
crazy.
spending 60 on hurricane reinforcements in Florida right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They'll cut down those $8 project source
Do you-
blinds at Lowe's for you.
Do you guys do custom like wood windows?
I got my share.
Yeah, we just do window treatments, we're not doing window
window treatment.
blinds, shade, shutters. Yeah, so his in-law spent $80,000 on
Oh, blinds.
Those are freaking
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
the blinds.
Yeah, blinds.
How big was it? Like 10,000 square foot house? Like,
It's like 4,000 square feet, but it's like a one big window.
It's
So
just
the house is
massive
one big
windows,
window.
yeah.
So that's, so,
It's insane. I mean, they're all like
another
remote
recommendation
control and shit,
is,
but still.
from the listing side, when you walk into a house, you see broken blinds, those don't get replaced, those get thrown away. Just take them all down. Take them all down, patch up the holes, paint over it, right? Every single new construction, like
They don't sell wood windows.
Right. every single new construction house, there's 0 window treatments on them. So the reason for it all comes down to just money, because for builders, the cost that extra $80,000 to cover all those windows, right? just messes up the math from the financing perspective. So it's the same reason houses don't come with furniture. It's the same reason, right? But a lot of people do get shocked. They stretch and stretch and stretch to build this new house, and it always takes longer than they thought, it costs more than they thought. They move in and they're like, huh.
And no
Those windows seem like a good idea.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
First people that stayed in my new house were my in-laws. Gave them neighborhood a show, man. It's like, there's no blinds.
Yeah, even like your $400,000 townhome doesn't have the blinds.
Does this PowerView setup, does this integrate with like Lutron stuff or?
So Hunter Douglas. So this brand, if you've never heard of it before, it's sort of I always tell people it's kind of like the Apple of window treatments, in that they have patented all the operating systems and technology and everything. So a lot of our clients specifically are looking for Hunter Douglas because they have all the smart home stuff going on. Yes. But like the ones in my house,
You got a lot
they're,
of those.
they go up every morning at sunrise. They go down every evening, an hour and 15 past sunset. It's a different time every day, right? And it's all connected through the internet, all kinds of stuff. So I could go into my phone right now and I could lower my blinds, raise my blinds. You can talk to them. You can say, "Hey Alexa, hey Siri, hey Google."
Clap my hands.
But yeah. But again, from a listing perspective, just throw the blinds away. Don't even think about replacing them. Because even cheap ones will be expensive. And it's going to be a pain in the ass. So don't even, just take it down. Nobody's going to care. It's not going to affect the sale price of the house at all.
Literally had a client bring that up to me last week because they had to get, it was like their window is just this particular size of window. And he's like, I had to spend like almost $1,000 just for this window to get a blind on it.
Yep. So,
Smooth.
Oh, question. I think I have bamboo floors on the listing, something like that. Anything you can do with those? They look
So bamboo, that's a product that was really
in and out.
it was really popular in the 2000s.
Because they absorb
And-
moisture, don't they?
Yeah, so there's a couple issues with the bamboo. So it's a renewable resource. It's literally like a weed, right? Like a bamboo shoot can grow 7 inches a day. It's the most renewable resource. With flooring, it is problematic because it can, one, there's just a lot of quality control issues with the product itself, and then two, with moisture, it can just wreak havoc on those floors. So typically, no.
Yeah, I had my first listing actually, the biggest nightmare of my life. I told the guy to move out, and he moved out. The second he moved out, he had bamboo flooring on slab. Second he moved out, right in the middle of his living room where his sofa was. A week later, the floor was like this. It was just like a mountain.
TP.
Yeah, literally. And it was probably this tall coming out of the ground. And he's like, oh yeah, my dog used to piss in that corner all the time. She was old, so it must have gotten under the floor, and then you could see the whole they had a vapor barrier underneath it, but it was it just didn't help.
Yeah, bamboo's. So you don't see much of it in the market anymore. And that's why. Also,
You're not
They
refinishing
didn't rip it all
right?
out.
what's that?
You're not refinishing it.
Generally, no. Most bamboo flooring was not solid hardwood anyway. It was mostly inexpensive engineered flooring that couldn't have been refinished. It would get ripped apart if you tried to sand it. It's pretty. The other one is cork flooring, something that used to be really popular. Extremely renewable resource. Cork is just the bark of a tree, right? So it's very green, but it can be very fragile. I have cork flooring in my office, and I have one of these chairs, and I look at it every day. I look down, and there's a giant ring underneath my desk where the chair is, just ripped it apart.
I'm seeing it on people's walls a lot recently too,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a cool finish.
Yeah.
My parents have pork. It's destroyed.
Yeah. What other questions you guys have? Yeah. All right. Well, that's it.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, thank you for having us out.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate it.